Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit. A new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing. Cut it close with Hovels. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb. Manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new Luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA. Hi out there. Hello, Mom.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Quilty viewers.
Quilty viewers, quilty fanatics. Binding. Sometimes I just hate it. I just hate binding, and I don't want to do it. And sometimes I ask you to do it.
Yes, well, I tell you, seasoned quilters out there, it's one of the nicest things you can do for a new quilter is bind their quilt. Yeah. I love binding because, we're not going to demonstrate the hand part this time, but maybe another time. But, that hand stitching, when you finish it, is sometimes the only hand stitching in most of the quilts I make. And I kind of like bond with my quilt, and then I can give it away, which I usually do. So but I know how to make nicely mitered corners, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, and I think actually doing the corners, I turned the corner on my hatred of binding. It is not as bad as it used to be because I used to get really hung up at the corners. I just couldn't make them look right. They looked like the cat got to them. They were like all gnarled and nasty. But there's a great, easy, simple way to do the corners of your quilt, and that's what we're going to do today. And this method...
Well, first let's look at an example.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so here's an example. Is this one of your quilts?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And see, what you want for a miter, hope you can see this black fabric, is you want a 45-degree angle straight in to your quilt from the outside corner on the front and back. And that's what you want. That's not bad.
I don't think I bound this one, though. No. I can't remember. I do produce a lot of quilts. Sometimes I have binding elves that help me.
Right.
We have made little mini quilts here today.
Yes, because a big quilt would be so hard. And so what Mary's going to do is she's going to just start in here, stitch, and I'm going to put a nice long glass head pin here 1/4 inch away from the corner. It's approximately a 1/4 inch because that is your stop sign. So you're going to stitch 1/4 inch, and when you see this pin to the side of your needle, you stop and you back stitch. I'm just telling you what you know already, but that's what you're going to do. So take it away.
I'm not going to sew this whole
No, just start
thing.
a couple inches. This is just our little fake binding.
I'm going to go like right about there.
That's plenty.
Actually, get this thing out here. Can you take that pin?
I will.
Dankeschön.
We don't need that one.
Okay, now I'm kind of eyeballing on my walking foot, which is what I need on.
Yes, we should mention that. If you buy a walking foot and there's nothing else than doing binding, it is worth its weight. You got another pin here?
But I had a guide that I was using for my walking foot, but it was a little bit narrow, so I hope this turns out okay. Okay, I'm coming up to my pin.
I'll take that loose pin.
I am stopping.
Now back stitch just a couple of stitches.
I have a button on the front of my machine that is the back stitch. I hold it in. I'm going to take another one.
It's not critical, but it just kind of, you'll see that it's just kind of an extra helping hand.
And then I'm going to cut my thread, right?
This is the key thing. You take it out of the machine.
Now we take it out of the machine.
Okay, I'm going to bring it where everyone can see. You take that pin out. You're going to use it again later. But what you do, because you've stopped, it's just perfect.
Get your hand. I just don't want any.
Okay. Well, I'm going to turn it toward them so they can see. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you do is you fold this up away, and that back stitching holds that at the corner. You want a 45-degree angle, perfect 45-degree angle. I can kind of like mash it a little bit, and then you bring it down. So the key things are removing the work from the machine and this flip, and I'm going to show again, okay?
Yeah.
So it's out of the machine. We got a 1/4 inch to work with. You flip it up so it's a 45-degree angle. That's an easy angle to do. Perfect diagonal. Then you flip it back down. Okay? And you line that, you just line it up then, that fold, can everybody see that I hope, with that top edge. I'm going to throw a pin in there. And so now the next important thing, let me tell everybody, is the next important thing is you start sewing at that edge.
Yep.
I mean, or beyond that edge. You sew straight across that edge.
Right.
So if you sew that, Mary, take your pin out, just sew about that far. We can then show everybody that miter.
perfect. Now I'm gonna give a little tip.
Yes.
I have a little piece of fabric here that I'm gonna put in my machine, and I'm gonna start. It's a spider.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start sewing on and off this because I need to give my machine something to chew before it
accepts this big thick thing.
Right. Okay.
So the whole key is that you're sewing from clear at the top edge. That's what forms the miter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm not going to go too far.
Just a couple
here.
inches, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little, give me a little bit more.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. I'm just going to, of course, you keep going.
Yeah.
You know, you keep sewing.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to take off your little spider because you'll use that the next time. And you can see that this is going to form the miter perfectly. You see that? Because we started at the top, I'm going to turn it around so everybody can see it right side up. Okay? So there's your miter.
Yep.
And so then when you get to the hand part, and of course I'll just do we got time for me to throw a few pins in here? Because I would have pinned this down, and I do a weave of the pin.
When you say hand part, what my mom means is the hand turning part.
Right.
You turn the binding to the back.
And I'll show you another tip.
Yeah.
Is what I do is for each one and Liz does this differently, and she learned this from me, is I separate this, not the binding, but the quilt and the backing, and I cut it at a diagonal. So when I finish,
you didn't get that first part, that little top.
Yeah. So on my lap, when I'm done, I've got 4 of these little doohickeys. Okay.
And you do that to give yourself a little bit.
It reduces the bulk.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pin, and this is exactly how I pin. I weave them in like this, and I don't know if you know that's how I do that.
I do it because that's how I do it because you taught me how.
Because I taught you that way, and it just holds it. Now some people use hair clips and all kinds of different things to hold these down, but you know what? It's like I said on the other episode. You do what works for you. So I would hand stitch this until I get to that exact corner, that crosshair, if you will. Take a kind of a back stitch, and then I fold. These pins would be gone.
Yeah.
And then I fold this down like this, and look at that. Is that a beautiful thing? And then I take a couple stitches right in there.
A couple stitches right in.
At the corner.
The corner.
And then I slide through.
Right.
And I think Ebony does that the same way. So that's the way to make beautiful corners.
Cool.
And you know, I said earlier, if you're ever going to enter a competition, but you know, you don't need to enter a competition to want to have beautiful work. You want to have nice straight corners. It's just part of the satisfaction of the quilt making process, in my opinion.
Yes, and I agree with you. You're a great teacher, Mom. Thanks for coming on Quilting.
I love to be here.
It's great. You're great. Make some quilts and bind them the right way, and love your quilt even more. Bye. Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield, together we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit, a new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing, cut it close with Hovels. Moda, make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb, manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA.